very, very candidly, very casually about quantum physics and perception, how reality works, and how your perception of things can influence, the quantum, the reality around you. So this is, the Hindus had this down for a long time ago, but this is illusion, this is the matrix, right? This is all physically real, tangible. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can taste it, you can interact with the physical realm on a physical sense. But your consciousness, right? What you are is consciousness. You have a body, you have a mind. You're not your mind, you're not your body. Why are you not your mind and you're not your body? Because you aren't your feelings and you're not your thoughts, right? Imagine if you were the thoughts that you think every single day, and you have some dark thoughts, right? Some weird thoughts as well. Really weird shit. And some feelings, right? Sometimes you have feelings that are inappropriate. And praise the Lord that we are not those feelings either. So if we're not our mind and we're not our body, what are we? What you are is consciousness. What you are is a witness of these things, right? I like to say you're not the car, you're not the navigation system, you're the driver of the car and the user of the navigation system. That's a better way to look at it. Now, consciousness influences reality in terms of your perceptions and your beliefs about how the world works, right? So I always make the point, and I did a video on this, I'm going to share a little bit of a prelude to the video, that you should always be open to concepts that have a more optimistic narrative about life and less of a pessimistic ones, right? Purely from the logic that it's going to cater the way your world unfolds, right? So what do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. So I did a video yesterday, which will be out in a couple of weeks on my main channel, on being careful how much black pill and red pill content you consume, right? Now, is there utility in black pill and red pill content? Yes, there is, right? It's good to know things like sexual market value. It's good to know things like hypergamy. It's good to know the statistics around women and their preferences for men over 6 foot, square, chiseled jaw, hunter eyes, right? It's good to know that stuff. But is it conducive to your health and your well-being to continually perpetuate a narrative which does not suit your quality of life? Let's take the latter example. Let's take the reality that women do prefer men of that kind of physical stature, right? The consequence of continually consuming that kind of content will have a devastating impact on your confidence, your energy levels, and the ideas you have around what is possible to attract with women. Meaning, it will get to a point where you don't even bother approaching women and you go this MGTOW direction because you're so gripped by this narrative, by this belief system, by this perception. Remember, perception warps reality. Observation warps reality. What you insinuate, is that the correct word? What you predict in your mind will happen usually has an effect, right? That's why the observer effect's real. This is an interesting point. Most scientific studies always have bias in them because of the prediction element, right? So why do you do a scientific study? Why do you do a scientific study on, let's say, the effects of creatine on muscle strength, right? The reason that study is done is because someone thinks, I think creatine can increase muscle strength. And that's a perception, that's an opinion, that's a narrative, right? So before you've even conducted the experiment, because the experimenter has a prediction on what will happen, that influences the quantum, that influences the reality, that influences the outcomes, right? And this is real. This is why the placebo effect is real, right? These are real things. So the point I'm trying to make is you should be very more closed-minded to narratives that do not suit the way you want to live life, and more open about narratives that make you feel hopeful and optimistic about life. So I'll give you another one. Mewing, right? Mewing is a very contentious topic. Mewing is the concept or the idea that if you place pressure, sorry about the quality of this video, guys, coming in and out of focus. Maybe you could just listen to this. The pressure you're placing on your upper palate can change the bone, the structures in your face, right? Now, if you've done your research on this, if you have a basic understanding of human development, you know this to be true, right? You know this to be true, and that you can actually change things like your the shape of your jaw, the structures of your like cheekbones, where your eyes sit, just by placing. Like if you look at me from a profile view, putting pressure up, and again, it's almost like you're holding your face up, right? I liken it to posture, right? If your posture's shit, your posture's always shit. You look unattractive. But if you actually put some force and some effort into how you're holding your body up, you appear physically more attractive. And the same thing with your face. The mouth breathers is just poor facial posture. That's the way. You've got poor body posture, you've got poor facial posture. But if you push that tongue up and you're holding your face up, the cheeks will prompt up, the eyes will prompt up, and the rest of the face and the jaw, right? Now, I think I did a tweet the other day about mewing, right? And I had a couple people in the comments saying, this is delusional. Of course, you can't change your facial structure. This is a cope for people who are ugly, things like that, right? Now, here's my point. Why would you be cynical about something like that, right? Unless it was purely for your ego gratification that you're right and they're wrong, right? Or the prospect of not being called naive, which I think is a pretty poor trade-off if you understand what I'm telling you in the preface of this video, that if you'd never heard about mewing in your life, right, and you understood the benefits that are associated with this I can change my whole face, I can improve what I look like, and I can be more attractive. Why would you not give that the benefit of the doubt? Because your perception influences it. So if you were cynical of it, of course, you're going to get cynical outcomes, even if you try, because you're going into it thinking this is not going to work. And then you're influencing the quantum and you're influencing the outcomes that you're going to get. But if you go into it with an optimistic perspective that, this could change things, again, you push things in your favor in that regard. I'm just thinking about another thing that's on mewing as well, is that someone put a picture, I think it was in a Reddit forum, of a like a gravel car park, not gravel, like cement, maybe I want to say cement or gravel, right? And it had been raining on this car park, right? And someone had taken a picture that was kind of like 45 degrees looking down on the ground. And you could see the indentations of where the water was pooling because of the rain over however many, months and years, right? Just the pressure of the water was creating these huge indentations on the ground. And the idea is just the pressure of your tongue, even if it's small pressure, but over time, months, years, good posture, it starts to create changes in the face. This is real. Rationality is also important for, perception and being optimistic and understanding things. But I used to be very, very cynical in the past. I used to have a very poor life. I used to, again, not be very successful with women because I always held myself from those, negative narratives. And you influence the quantum field like that. You influence quantum physics when you do that. So it's far better to be optimistic and have some disappointment sometimes than be pessimistic and literally force the world around you to conform to your hatred, bitterness, and cynicism of life. Yeah, I'm kind of ranting here, but this is honestly, and I'm just thinking, if you're somebody that has that kind of perspective, rationality is going to be important for you to understand it. So resources, because you're not going to believe me, right? Maybe you're having some forms of insight now, but you're going to have to find these things out on your own, because that's going to be most conducive to your perception change, because you're more likely to believe an idea you gave yourself as opposed to other people, right? And you'll convict on it because it's easy, ego gratificating or whatever. So resources that you can find to give that kind of, what we just say, satisfaction and validation that you want. Biocentrism is a really, really good book about quantum physics. You can also read Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. I think it's a really good resource. You could listen to the Gateway tapes, that the Gateway Experience. You could look at that on YouTube. That's quite cool. You could read Transurfing Reality by Vadim Zeland, this Russian quantum physicist, and find it out yourself. And once you find it out yourself and you start actually approaching life from this perspective of abundance and opportunity, as opposed to pessimism, nihilism, and cynicism, you'll recognize, reality starts to warp differently around you, and it's crazy when these things happen. But yeah, rant over today, and I hope this is helpful. Speak soon.